Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pesek, and welcome to the Fire Up Network. Welcome to the On the Mat Wrestling Show for this week, and it's a big week, big couple weeks in the world of professional wrestling. With me is Huge Pop Radio Wrestling Superstar. You like that? Superstar Jimmy Corderas. Johnny, Donnie has prior engagements celebrating his 99% victory in the NCAA tournament, which I had first in January. But anyways, let's talk about AEW Dynasty, which comes to you from Canada. Yes, from Canada in Vancouver. That means something maybe because, the Bret Hart Foundation or the Hart Foundation usually is in May, June, July. So maybe they do something there. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, that's a spoiler,
Yeah,
Jimmy. It's a spoiler.
you never know. You never know. It's they all think over there in the United States that Canada is about this big, and Calgary's like an Uber drive over to Vancouver, so they don't know any better.
Jimmy, as you know, I'm the president of the provinces of Canada. I just got off the phone with Mr. Orange. He takes issue of that. We are the 51st state, and we are treated like Americans. Yeah, right. All right. So
Not
let's
happening.
let's get to no, but I don't think nobody's happy with that. All right.
No.
Let's get to the 0 hour. Alex Windsor, isn't that the girlfriend of do I have to say this or do I have to surprise Will
No,
Osprey
no. I think
against
I
the
think the
girlfriend?
secret's out. I mean, it's been all over. I've
Okay,
seen it on his social media, on her social media. So it's no secret that Alex Windsor and Will Osprey are a couple.
okay.
Yeah.
And then another couple will be Maria Shafir and Roderick Strong. So,
Yes.
first of all, they should make this into a tag match, and never mind. But uh, is there any doubt Maria Shafir will win this bout?
Um, I'm, I'm. She shouldn't. She absolutely shouldn't. I mean, I think they had something with Marina Shafir as part of the Death Riders. She could have been a destructive force, and unfortunately, wasn't booked that way.
Yeah.
That being said, now is the time to do something with Marina Shafir where she stands out. She has to stand out, other than being a silent assassin, so to speak.
Yeah.
I want to see more character from her. I want to hear her, and I want to hear her. I don't want to hear her cut a wrestling promo. I'm tired of wrestling promos. You know what I mean?
I
Now is the
agree. I
time.
agree.
Be authentic. Show us who you really are. If you want to be the badass woman of the AEW roster, show us that.
But whatever happened to and I thought this was a great tag team, her with Megan Bain.
Oh, see, they dropped the ball with that one too because Megan Bain should be booked like a beast. And her and Marina Shafir should have run roughshod over the entire women's division, both in tag team and in singles. They should have been. See, the problem is they have when you have strong women in AEW,
Yeah.
they have trouble booking them properly because they have this philosophy of every match has to be 50-50 between the baby faces and the heels. No,
Yeah.
they don't. No, they don't. Dominant heels could be 75-25 in the match, 80-20 in the match. It
I would
doesn't
say
matter.
80-20. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You tell that story that they are almost indestructible, and the baby faces have to fight from underneath because you're getting sympathy on the baby faces because they're getting dominated so badly.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's like nothing bad. We both want AEW to succeed, but
Yes.
nothing bad against Tony Khan because it seems like he watches a soap opera. Oh, we'll get back to the segment in a couple weeks or whatever, and then he drops it. That was fantastic of that tag team with Megan Bain and Maria Shafir. Take her away from John Moxley and let her prove herself.
Yep.
Let her
Yep.
prove herself, and no better way than proving herself. Because imagine if they're a dominant tag team, and then they split up or have feuds. You could start that feud going for a year.
Amazing. There's so much meat on that bone, and it is time for Marina Shafir to distance herself from the Death Riders. I don't think she needs to be part of that faction anymore.
All right, so this could be an interesting boat here. This is going to be on the pay-per-view portion or premier live event portion. Andrade El Idolo versus Darby Allin. the Andrade Alito has gone opposed to Don Callis, but now with Darby Allin, he's doing a favor to John Moxley, and I don't know what they're gonna do because since he's come back to AEW, he's been fantastic. I like him with the Don Callis, but let's face it, there's 5 guys I like in the Don Callis and 5 guys I hate. All right,
Yeah.
so put it that way.
Right.
So it's true, but where do they go with here? Because Darby Allin, he doesn't get a title shot, but he's definitely in the top of baby faces for AEW. Then Andrade, in my opinion, he may be one of the best wrestlers in AEW. So it should be interesting where they go here.
It is very interesting. Darby, the challenge here for Andrade is he can adapt with any style. That's how good he is. I know a lot of people say this problem is he's not good on the microphone. That's not a problem. You have Don Callis do the talking.
Yeah,
The only problem with that is, like you said, Don Callis has 47 other members of the Callis family, and he gets lost in the sauce.
yeah.
That being said, if I'm not mistaken, this match, the stipulation here is if Darby wins, he gets an AEW World Championship match.
Yeah,
There's,
because they're fighting for MJF. Because
I know. See, they're already putting their ducks in a row as far as who's the next contenders, who's going to
yeah,
get the next title match for the AEW Championship. You don't have to set them all up now. You focus on one person at a time. Yes, everybody wants a shot at the championship, as they should. That's part of what you do as a wrestler. You want to be the top guy. You want to be the champion of your company. You want to represent your company, but at the same time, you can't have everybody all at the same time saying, "I want that title shot."
yeah.
You know, space it out a little bit. Tell a little bit of a story. Let his match with because we're going to talk about MJF and Kenny Omega
Yeah.
later. You know, you want people to focus on that match being the title match without worrying about who's going to be the next contender already.
Well,
Let those stories play out. You space them out a little bit. I know some people are, oh, but look, it's great. They got so many guys that vying for the championship. Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, there's time for those stories. Instead of bunching them all together, space them out so you have continuous storyline moving out throughout the year instead of trying to rush everything.
but doesn't that tell you that obviously I don't have to say this that MJF's going to retain the title and then face Darby Allin presumably at the second biggest pay per view of AEW with in May, and then I don't know if they have one in June, in July, but I could see Will Ospreay getting the shot at All In, All Out, whatever in Wembley Stadium, right? So there you go. We have already, I think, 2 amazing title matches already for the next 4 months.
Yeah, you do, but at the same time, see, this is where I struggle with things. It doesn't have to be a different contender for every pay per view. You
Yeah,
can have a rematch at a pay per view between, let's say something happens with MJF and Kenny. We haven't got to that match yet, but
yeah, yeah.
they could easily have a rematch at the next pay per view.
Exactly.
Easily.
I
You
would
don't
book
have
it like
that.
that.
Yeah, and you don't have to. It doesn't have to be okay. He got by Kenny Omega next. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be okay next. Once you're done.
Yeah, and like we see, no offense to the OTC, but we had 2 years of WrestleMania main event with Cody Rhodes. They're 2 year build up, and I don't have to tell you 10 years. They had a
Yep.
year build up with John Cena and The Rock, right? So
Right.
that's what you build up to. But every week he seems to have somebody new there. So now let's get to the AEW World Champ, Ladies
Wait.
World
Let me go
Championship.
back to this
Yeah,
Andrade Darby Allen match. Now, this is going to be a challenge because after Darby Allen returned from climbing Mount Everest, it looked like they were going to strap the rocket to this kid, and that didn't happen. They decided to go in a different direction, and I don't know why. You know, that was their choice. That's fine.
yeah.
Andrade looks like a guy that can, draw some eyes to the company. Uh,
Well, it doesn't hurt that he's also CMLL or
yes,
whatever organization they're with. He
yes,
can wrestle everywhere, right? If
right,
I would put Andrade against MJF. That's something that we haven't seen.
right. And here's the thing too. And I hate that this isn't a shot at Darby, but appearances matter. And when
Yeah.
you look at the two, you look at Andrade, he looks like a star.
Yeah.
He looks like an absolute star. And when you look at Darby Allin, I get the look, the skateboard, and the painted face, whatever, but that doesn't translate to a larger audience. That is a niche character.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and maybe they had to bring, or we have to bring back Sting for him to get over more, or but they had it like, and you just brought it up, Mount Everest. What does Mount Everest have to do with wrestling?
Nothing. But at the same time, there was an opportunity for them to cash in on this because
Yeah,
it
where's
is a
the
big
camera
deal.
put the AEW flag there and all? Because he had it, but did they show it?
I think they showed it on their social media once, maybe, but there's something they could have put on their TV that would have looked
Exactly.
very impressive. Here, look, he climbed Mount Everest and planted our flag there, and AEW will be the top, whatever, whatever the
And
verbiage
and
is.
what a promo!
Take
I'm
advantage of
on
it.
top of the world. I should challenge for the
Yeah,
championship. There
there
you
you
go.
go. There you go.
All right. Yeah, and that comes from me. Come on, Jimmy. All right. Tekla versus Jimmy Hayter for the ladies championship. And I think it's too early to take the title off Tekla, but what do you do with Jimmy Hayter if she loses in this bout? Does she go back down?
Um, see, see, again, there's a challenging situation, is what happens with everyone. The another issue that I have with AEW is once they are done as a champion like Thekla, if she defeats Jamie Hayter in this one, they kind of move on to the next, like we mentioned earlier. Next,
Yeah.
who's next? Next, next. That and I fear that's what's going to happen. I think this is going to be a good match. I enjoy both ladies, but at the same time, I think this is not going to end up in
Yeah.
um, a good situation after the match for Jamie Hayter. So, um, uh, yeah, I think it's just going to be one of those. Okay, she's next in line. Where do we
Yeah.
go next?
So here's and the next match we're going to talk is very intriguing to me. AEW Continental Championship: John Moxley versus Will Ospreay. Of course, Will Ospreay, and he does it for me. He looks okay, but when he takes these bumps, even the snap suplexes and all that, don't you just cringe here? Don't you just cringe because he goes 120 miles an hour, whatever he does. Now, John Moxley, he's been great, and we want to see more. Or I maybe you do also with him and Takesha, and then you got the other guy there because you want to see Takesha versus Okada and all that. So, but interesting, we don't see Takesha or Okada on this. This is a pay-per-view and one of the good pay-per-views here. It's in Canada, so
Hmm.
I'm maybe they're going to add a couple matches here or whatever. But let's get to John Moxley, Will Ospreay. Where you go in this one if you had the book? Because I'm not saying Tony Khan. If you had the book,
Okay. Um, this is what I would do. What I would have done actually with the return of Will Ospreay. I would not have had him wrestle a match until the pay per view. I would have had this as his first match back. And leading up to this match, I would have Will Ospreay cutting promos about, yes, he's been medically cleared, but he still has doubts.
yeah,
Can he be the Will Ospreay that he was before the surgery? Can he go back to that? Is his body physically able to withstand the punishment that he knows a John Moxley can inflict on him? And build that up for a couple of weeks, because that match he had coming back. Okay, at the last pay per view, was it
yeah, Revolution, yeah,
Revolution? Okay, he came out and attacked John Moxley. Fine. The next day, in the next week on Dynamite, what does he do? He shows up and he wrestles Blake Christian. No offense
yeah,
to Blake Christian, but why? There was no reason for this. And people are out there, oh, well, it was a test to see if he. No, the match against Moxley should be the test, whether he can go.
agree,
No. And then the following week, he has a match against Pac.
yeah,
Good match against Pac. I don't have a problem with that. But it doesn't. It's this whole need that the person that is going into a pay per view and into a match has to have a match leading into the pay per view with someone else. You don't have to do that. You can build it with your words. And having The best promo that he cut was the one where he was in the back, or it was a
Yeah,
pre-tape segment.
yeah,
Yeah, that got lost because it wasn't in front of the crowd. If
okay,
that was
yeah.
in front of the crowd, it would have meant 10 times more.
And
And this
I
match
hate to
would have
see.
meant 10 times more if this was the first match back for Will Ospreay. And the whole premise of the match is, can he withstand? Can his body withstand? Can John Moxley capitalize on this? And what I would do for a finish is I would have, they're going to have a hell of a match. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. I mean, that's one of the things they do. They put on great matches.
pay-per-views are the best.
Yes.
AEW.
Yes. So what I would do is I would create a finish where when they build up to the finish, have Will Ospreay hit his finish after taking an enormous amount of punishment, and after he hits his finish, he collapses and he can't cover. And now the crowd is like, "What the hell's going on here?" And John Moxley, even after taking the finish, let it breathe for a few seconds. He crawls over, just covers him, 1, 2, 3. And now you're
Yeah.
wondering, oh, is Will okay? Maybe he came back too soon. Put that question mark in people's minds.
And don't have him wrestle the next week or the next pay-per-view after. Skip a pay-per-view and then maybe build up to your biggest pay-per-view. I'm not going to say ever, but 80,000 in Wembley Stadium. Give him the title shot. That way Moxley can still keep the title for 5-6 months and he gets over more as a heel.
Yep, absolutely. They missed a lot of opportunity here to tell a really deep story.
Or even better yet, you have a Windsor versus Shafir. You could have had a mixed tag match and let them beat down, Windsor, and then he gets the hot tag, and then Moxley comes in with like Ross and beats him down, and that causes more controversy. You don't know if then you have another match, Windsor Shafir separately at the next pay-per-view, and then you have the match here with Moxley. But I digress because it's Tony Khan, everything he wants to. I don't even know if he's concentrating on the Jaguars right now. They're building the new stadium and everything like that. So let's get to the next match. We're more intrigue here. It's in Vancouver, but we know supposedly that they're having a match, a retirement match for Adam Copeland, Edge, whatever, in Toronto in October. Dax, Cash versus Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, FTR versus one of the greatest tag teams in Vancouver for the tag team titles. Even though it's in Canada, do you think Edge or Copeland and Chris Cage win?
I would like to see them win. That's my own personal
Yeah,
preference.
yeah,
But as far as from a match standpoint, I think this one has well, you look at the participants, and this has the potential to be the best match on the card from a psychology and storytelling standpoint.
agreed.
Because regardless of what you think of FTR, they still have that old school feel, old school tag team ability. Sometimes they go a little too far and try to do things. They're trying to mix new school with old school,
Yeah,
but they're not blending it too well. I think with someone like Adam Copeland and Cage and Christian on the other side, they will be able to temper them and help them tell an amazing story because there is a story going into this.
yeah,
So I think this, believe it or not, in my opinion, can steal the show. I'm a fan of tag team wrestling when it's done
yeah,
right,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So being in Canada, I think it would be a great moment to have Cope and Cage emerge as champions, and then down the line, you don't know what happens from there. And I like the dynamic of Adam because Christian is still not really a babyface.
No,
He still
he just
has,
wants to make money, right? So that's it.
yeah, yeah. He's off the rails, and it's almost like Adam is trying to rein him in and keep him in check. But I actually enjoy that dynamic.
Yeah, and they're great. The FTR is great also. This for once, and honestly, I know they're not going to put this as a main event, but this should be the main event, especially it's in Canada, especially there's so much intrigue there and everything like that. So, and imagine if Adam and Ed or Christian win, like that,
Yep.
that can be great. This, in my opinion, should be the main event, but
I
the main
know.
event,
So then start the show with it. If you're not going to put it, if you're not going to put it as your main event, start the show with it.
but you know which match is going to start the show? Every Dynamite or whatever, it's John Moxley starts the show.
I know, but
And honestly, and like I'm getting tired of it because John Moxley is one of the best wrestlers they got there, but he starts the show.
I
It used to
know.
be with Brian Danielson, the best wrestler period, started the show all the time. Remember when they went 1 hour time limits, they had 45 minutes, and like, uh,
I remember a while there where every Dynamite the opening match was Orange Cassidy. So,
yeah,
but this your two biggest matches on any pay per view are obviously your main event and how you start the show.
yeah,
And if you want to start the show off with a bang, especially if Adam and Cage are going to win the championship, you want to start off on a big moment. There's your big moment.
and especially because it's in Vancouver, also, right?
Yep,
So, all right,
absolutely.
so in what perceived is now the main event. Kenny Omega versus MJF for the World Championship. A lot of intrigue in this one. Kenny Omega, MJF has been letting people talk, and he's an amazing talker also. And he's
Hmm.
talked, but he hasn't really pulled the skin, I guess, like he does all the time with his opponents. I'm interested to see. This is the last. We're taping this before Dynamite. It's the last Dynamite before the pay per view. I'm interested to see how far he goes tonight with MJ or Kenny Omega.
I would love to see MJF just let loose. Not to compare it to the other guys,
Yep,
but the last couple of weeks we saw on Friday Night SmackDown, we saw Cody Rhodes come out and cut a scathing promo. That's probably the best promo he's cut since he's come
yep.
back to
And on the
WWE.
pipe bomb.
And then, yes, and then a pipe bomb on Monday night by CM Punk. And guess what those things do? They talk people into the building.
Yep,
They have a good crowd coming out in Vancouver. That's great. Good for them. MJF needs to forget about being the comedy act, taking cheap shots and pretending he's roasting people, and just tear into someone and be a big SOB. Because the one thing that the best heels do is they have no redeeming qualities. But sometimes MJF kind of takes a little bit of a turn, and he takes sly little jabs at people that kind of pop people as opposed to make them hate him.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
done a good job so far of getting, because people want to cheer him,
yeah, yeah.
especially the sickos. The AEW sickos want to cheer him, but he's done a great job of getting them not to cheer him. And against somebody like a Kenny Omega. So I want him, like you said, we're taping this right before Dynamite. I want to see him go out on Dynamite and just uh, tear the hide off of Kenny Omega, not physically. Not physically. We've already seen physicality. I want to see him do it with it. I want to hear him do it. I want to hear him do it.
Wow.
But I have a problem with the setup to this match because MJF now made it about Kenny's health.
Yep,
Now, if we didn't already have a match on the show that involves someone else's health, Will Ospreay,
that's right. Yep,
I wouldn't have a problem with it. But now you have two matches with kind of a same backstory where, hey, is he going to be physically okay to go? Hey, is he going to be physically okay to go in two separate matches? That's again, that's a kind of an overlapping story thread, kind of storyline, if you get my drift.
Of course I get your drift, but here it is. Jimmy, should I call your doctor? And the guy gives me the information about, what about client-patient privilege? No, who are you? I'm Joe. Whoa, why are you calling me about Jimmy? Oh, I called this doctor, and he told me about this, and MJF called Kenny Omega's doctor, and he told me about this. Like, what is going on here? Bring realistic things. Everybody wants to see realistic fighting. Yes, you could take, like the pump takes a little cheap shots at ESPN, Ari Emanuel, TKO, and then
Mm-hmm.
the Cody takes But what's Cody gonna do? Will bring
See,
Dustin Rhodes into this? Or also,
yeah,
I digress. I know it's AEW, but
yeah.
where
Now
WWE
here,
will talk
you
about that. So
see, you brought up an interesting point about did he contact his doctor and get that information? Because
yeah,
you have it's like an attorney-client
yeah,
privilege, doctor-patient privilege, that is private. And so now, if MJF had come out and said, "I know you've been having problems with your diverticulitis and stuff like that," and questioned, instead of saying, "I know for a fact that you have problems, you're on the brink of
yeah,
disaster and stuff." Instead of doing that, question him. Question him. You've been ever since your diverticulitis. I've noticed you have lost a step. You're not the same Kenny Omega. You're not the wrestling god that you think you are since you've come back. You're not the same Kenny Omega. But you know what? If you think you can beat MJF, even on your best damn day, just instead of
yeah,
saying
yeah.
I know for a fact, question whether he is okay to go, or
And,
or
and
or yeah, how physically good are you to go? You know what I mean?
and no, and I agree with you, but it makes me like there's a smell because Kenny Omega, he looks great, but he looks like a step off. They already threw Hangman Page under bus there because he's going to be out. I don't know with AEW maybe another week, but
Mm-hmm.
he can be out for 6 months. So they already lost Hangman Page. I just have a feeling that MJF's going to be a monster heel again and going to take him out. And there's questions: will he fight? Will he not? And then he makes a miraculous return. The next pay per view or in London there and all that,
Yeah.
right? Because I just have a feeling that they got to put MJF more over than he is right now. People love him. Some people love him. People hate him. But they
Mhm.
got to turn around the people who love him. And if
Right.
I was AEW and all that, I think, and I hate saying this because I don't want to be political or whatever, but you could see him do segments about Jewish heritage with New England Patriots owner Kraft and all that. Well, make a decision. Is he going to be a heel? Make him a monster heel, or you could turn him into a face there. But I know he doesn't want to go politically and all that. But
Right. I
it's
I
interesting.
mm, I know. I'm not. I'm kind of against bringing politics into wrestling
Yeah,
because
no, I'm
those two
against
should
it
be
also.
yeah, should be completely separate and that sort of thing. But
Yeah,
to
and
answer the
especially
question that a
with
lot of
this
people have been,
politics that
yeah,
is going.
you talked about the main event for All In at Wembley, and a lot of people are thinking,
Yeah,
oh, it'd be great to have Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay in that dream match again. See them going, and no, no, as good as you think that match is going to be, the money match, which is the important thing, the money match is MJF versus Will Ospreay. And I'll tell you what, everybody's talking about the uptick for AEW in attendance. They're starting to make incremental advances on their
jumps.
TV,
Yep.
which is where they were struggling. Pay-per-views have been doing well, you know, but their TV audience, live audience, has been struggling. But ever since MJF has come back and won the championship, we're seeing incremental increases in the live audience. Ratings, despite the fact that they've got this new system, whatever they're talking about, who cares? The fact is, they've seen some incremental increases in their audience. What's the correlation between the two? MJF. The
Yeah.
guy draws money. Bottom line. So
And he
there's your
could
money
speak people
match.
into the seats. So that's why you keep him, like you talked
Yep.
about. He's the best talker they have right now. Forget about Jericho coming back and all that, but he's the best talker they have right now.
Yeah.
So
See, and we don't know if Jericho even has a spot on the pay per view yet. I would
no.
not have him wrestle. That's for sure.
He'll
Not
come
yet.
out, but I don't think he'll wrestle. In fact, that may be a mistake also because it's he's from Winnipeg, but New York or whatever. Because considering it's in Vancouver, he's from Winnipeg. The next pay per view in May it's not in California or whatever. I believe it's in New York, where Arthur Ashe Stadium or close by there.
Right, right, right,
So
right.
and he's technically New York or Winnipeg and all that, right? So it's
Hmm.
should be interesting to see what they do with Jericho, because let's face it, he is a name still. He is a name. He is a guy who can, hey, I'm back. Boom. He didn't say anything else, and that's again to the internet sheet. That was the
Yeah,
surprise of my lifetime. Hey, I thought Jericho was coming back for WrestleMania. I thought
right.
Jericho was this. Now he's in the. And again, like, does WWE know what they're doing? And like they got 18 matches, they got 2 days, they got 6 to 7 on ESPN 1,
Mm.
yeah, on ESPN 2. On like, I don't know. We'll talk about that next week, but
Right.
again, and we'll talk about, it looks like, and I don't want to. I'll just ask you this about
Hmm.
WWE, and then we'll close it out.
Okay.
WrestleMania 43. Did you hear that they're already changed it or going to change it, or because don't they like the Saudi money?
How can you not? For the number that's being floated out there is
Yeah,
astronomical that they're paying to get WrestleMania over there. So I understand why they would, go. But at the same time, with the current situation in the world, that might change. I know there is concern. There's
yeah.
if they're not concerned, that's crazy. But for sure they are concerned, and I'm sure there's a backup plan in place. There's going to be a plan B as long as they don't go back to Vegas. I'm fine with it.
And,
Maybe they put it
and
in.
I'm telling you
Maybe they
this
put
right
it in New
now, I'm
Orleans
laughing.
since. Yeah, maybe they put it in New Orleans since they got jacked on the last time this year.
Well,
So
I'm telling you, in the Super Bowl, came back to Vegas in 29. I would say in 28 or 29, WrestleMania's in Vegas again. You agree?
oh, I no, I hope not. I hope not. People are finding out that it's very expensive in Las Vegas. You know what?
$42 for a burger, fries, and Coke. $42.
That's insane. No
The
burger,
only one who can
fry,
pay it is
and
Jimmy.
fries. No burger and fries on the planet is worth $42. I don't care what you say. I don't care what kind of meat you use. It ain't worth $42. That's a
$42. But
yeah.
digress.
Yep.
AEW.
Good.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
so with this AEW pay-per-views, their pay-per-views are amazing. But last pay-per-view I think finished at 12:40. And
Yeah.
I have a feeling this pay-per-view is going to end up, because remember, they're in Vancouver, 3 hours behind. It's in Canada. So you know what I mean? So I think it's going to go past 12 o'clock.
I hope.
And
Oh well, our time. I hope it
yeah,
doesn't go past 12 o'clock their time, but
no,
anyway,
that I can tell
yeah.
you, because
Uh,
I know
What
Tony
I
Khan's
hope,
gonna.
what I'm hoping for though is yes, I'm pretty sure this pay per view is going to deliver. That's not the issue here. The issue is going to be the follow up next Wednesday because they have a bad habit of not being able to capitalize off a good pay per view on their TV show.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So, Jimmy, tell everybody how they could get a hold of you, and tell them what's on Huge Pop this week.
All right, you can get a hold of me. My social media is pretty much everywhere at Jimmy Corderas on Twitter, at Real Jimmy Corderas on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook as well. On Huge Pop Radio with Donnie and I this week, we got a chance to talk to TNA World Heavyweight Champion Mike Santana. Great little chat with Mike Santana. Great guy. This guy, you talk about guys who tick all the boxes. Mike Santana ticks all the boxes. And we forgot to mention, I know this is an AEW preview, but TNA has a pay per view this weekend,
Yeah.
Rebellion. Might want to check that out as well. So it's a full weekend of wrestling on my Easter weekend.
Yeah, it's a Greek Orthodox Easter this weekend. So, see, I know this. Even Jewish, I know this. All right.
There you
So,
go.
there you go.
Yeah.
So, happy Greek Orthodox Easter, Jimmy. And don't forget to eat the eggs, I think. Or what can you only eat? Yeah, no, fish on Friday. Fish
Yes,
Friday.
we're allowed fish on Friday. That's
Yeah.
so I'm already said I got some nice salmon uh,
Yeah. So that's
ready
good.
for
Invite
Friday,
me
and
over, and that's it.
yeah, and then we got the
That's it.
nice Greek the Easter bread, the tsureki, and the Easter eggs where you clack them together and
What
see
about
the
euros? Euros. I hear all this about
no
euros.
no lamb, brother,
Oh,
lamb.
come on. Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right.
Yeah.
So enjoy your, and anybody else there, Greek Orthodox Easter this weekend. Enjoy it. Be healthy. And this week, like he said, 2 pay-per-views. Next week, the granddaddy of all, WrestleMania, 17 hours of. The worst thing is Friday, watching SmackDown and staying up to watch Stephanie McMahon being inducted. Uh, are you going to go to the Hall of Fame? And there's some talk. I don't know if you heard this. See, when the president of the province of Canada speak, people listen. There's some talk that next year referees will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and I know Tim White's, should be inducted, but number one, especially in Canada, is this guy. And once he gets inducted, hopefully he mentions me in his Hall of Fame speech, because me and Donnie are the only ones to say a long time ago he should be into the Hall of Fame. But that, and I don't know if you heard that. I have started hearing that next year referees will be inducted. Have you
Ah,
heard it?
no, I think they're kayfabing me, brother.
No, they're not. I have a say, and I'm telling you, I need to I'll get CM Punk to do a pipe bomb, and you'll see it happen. Okay?
Oh,
You'll see
are you
it happen.
kidding me? If that happens, I'm in.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jimmy. Have a great Orthodox Easter. Enjoy the pay-per-view, and we'll get you on next week to talk about WrestleMania. Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, brother. Stay